when I'm the type of person, when I think of an amazing idea, I have to text it immediately before it
I'm the
slips
same
out of
way.
my head.
And then you overwhelm people, and it's like, oh,
It's
like,
like
dude, it's 5
I
a.m.
could
I don't know
be.
what you want me to do with this right now. What's up, everybody, and welcome to the Entrepreneur Athlete Podcast. My name is Mark Burik, and here we talk to athletes and fitness and enthusiasts who want to or have turned their athletic fitness passion into a business. So we're talking to a lot of business leaders, entrepreneurs, as well as sports folk. So today we have Alex Turner. We just filmed a podcast on his podcast, which is Athletes Wisdom. So as soon as you guys are done with this episode, head on over to Athletes Wisdom. And he asked me some questions about my history and my business, where you can dive into that a little bit more and see what he's doing. So without getting too far into it, Alex, just want to say what's up.
Thanks for having me on, Mark. I definitely appreciate it. And again, I'm glad that you're able to come join and give us the mass amount of knowledge and value that you gave on my podcast as well. So thank you.
Appreciate that, man. And it's fun to trade. I like trading back and forth. And I think we talked about it on your podcast, but sharing tips. I know that you've given me 3 different tools already that I could use in my business, even though we're going in a similar direction, but it doesn't mean that you can't share. It doesn't mean that you have to hide things, because if we can maximize each other, and if I look at you as somebody who's like, man, this guy gave me some good tips, and you look back at me the same way, maybe for this business, we don't partner up, or maybe we do. But then we look down the road and we say, well, there'll be other times, there'll be other teams when we could play together. So
Exactly.
Always nice to come in with an open heart.
Most definitely.
I want to know right away, for our audience and for me, who are you? Give yourself a little introduction, and really I want to know what your sport and fitness passions are and what your current businesses are.
Most definitely. So for those who don't know me, I am Alexander Turner. I'm actually based in Atlanta, Georgia, if you couldn't tell from probably some of the sports things behind me. But just a quick review about who I am and how I got into the numerous businesses that I'm in the fitness space and sports space like that. So like I said, I'm from Atlanta, so I've always loved, football. Unfortunately, the Falcons aren't that good for me to love right now, but I've always just been drawn in by sports. Been drawn in by the overall act of just being healthy, the athletic, the fitness aspect of it. So as I unfortunately, I had a passion and a dream of always being able to play college sports, and I didn't get the chance to do that for a number of reasons. But I feel like everything works out the way it's supposed to, because it led me down more of a business path, right? My family and I, we were able to build a family company where essentially we help other business owners fund, systemize, and scale their businesses. And as I was going throughout that same process, and as we were helping out families build their business, I was like, I enjoy helping families, but this isn't my passion. Like, this isn't something that forces me to get up every morning and like be excited to do what I do. So I was like, how can I tie this into what I love, which is sports, which is fitness? And around that same time, that's when NIL, which stands for name, image, and likeness. For those who aren't familiar, it's basically how college athletes are able to now get paid and monetized just off of their overall brand, their overall name, image, and likeness. It was about the same time that NIL started coming into fruition. So essentially, I was like, okay, we already help families build, systemize, and scale a business. And now college athletes are able to make money off their name and essentially start their own business. So how can I put 2 and 2 together? So essentially, I added that business aspect into the sports world. And now I help athletes build their brand online. I give them business tips on how to start a business, how to start their career, while using some of those things that they already have in school as an advantage. Like, you already have a limelight on you, so just kind of teaching them how to put 2 and 2 together.
That's awesome. For the NIL stuff, when people were able to start getting paid, it drove me kind of nuts for a long time. When I looked at English majors, English major, you go into school, you can write a paper, you can write for the New York Times, whatever, and you can get paid for it. You can write a book when you're 16, 17, 20, and you can get paid for it. And the fact that, there was such a problem with a college athlete coaching a camp or a clinic using his or her name, not being able to monetize the passion that you have and the hard work that you put in. And usually if you're a high level athlete that has the ability to make money, you've put in that extra work more than anybody else has as well. So part of that always seemed unfair to me, but I know there's a whole other side to, should college athletes get paid? How is this going to, sour or corrupt it? And we'll see. There'll be problems like anything else, but the fact that now at least kids can make money through college doing the things that they're passionate about and that they've put all of their life's work into, there's got to be good coming from that, So definitely. It's nice that they've got somebody leading the way for them.
Hey, I'm doing my best. It's such a new space. And we actually spoke about this earlier, as far as like having a mentor and having a coach to kind of guide you, because NIL is so new, especially in the beginning aspects. Thankfully, it's been out for almost 2 years now. So there's been a lot of people who have had a bit more success than me that I can now follow and get tips from. But when starting off, it was difficult. You're supposed to follow a blueprint half the time, or some type of plan that's already been set out by people who paved the way before you. But since this is such a new thing, right? And of course, there are always people who, they should do it and they shouldn't do it. So there are a lot of people who are trying to hide certain things or not give out information that would be beneficial to not only just myself helping college athletes, but college athletes as well. It was a bit of a learning curve to start off, I will say. But
yeah, it's going to be a learning curve the whole time, right? Like we're on a nonstop learning curve, I think. Now, I want to know when you started that business. So you were in your family business, right? And this was NIL came, they're able to start making money. College athletes were starting what year?
2021. I want to say it went into effect July 1st, 2021.
Okay. So that's when you pivoted from what was your role with your family's business and how much was, not trying to knock your family or get you in trouble with anybody, but did you have to pull back on working for your family's company and then rededicate all of that energy to your own thing?
So, all right. So how should I? So, for one,
is mom listening?
I didn't have to scale back on the family business, thankfully, because like I said, I incorporated a lot of what we do and teach in the family business, and I just incorporated and tweaked it a bit to suit college athletes, to suit up and coming college athletes, like even those who are like on the junior and senior level in high school. So thankfully, I didn't have to scale back too much. It's more so just being able to learn new things within the business. I want to say you asked me, when did I start it, correct?
Yeah.
So we started the family company 2016, 2017, and they originally started off as like multiple individual companies that we eventually tied together around 2020-ish, 2019, 2020. I started the athlete business. So it originally started off as just a regular sports podcast, right? Cool. And I still have the old sports podcast behind me. It's called Sports Talk with Turner. But it really started off just as like a sports podcast because, like I said, I've always loved sports. I've had that passion for sports. I used to work in the restaurant industry, so I would catch myself, when I don't have a table, I'll be watching games and then I'll talk to somebody and start analyzing the game and the numbers and all that. So it started off as that. And then, like I said, I was able to thankfully tie them both in together. I will say it is a bit of a challenge to juggle both businesses at the same time. While they do entail a lot of the same things, they also don't entail a lot of the same things. But thankfully, the support, we have people who work for us in our parent, in the parent company, in the family business that I still use to help with some of the things in my personal business. So that definitely helps a lot of the process as far as being able to utilize, extra resources and getting things done right there.
Yeah. Something that I'm learned, I guess, maybe in the last 3-4 years is even if you've already got a company and there's a new product or service that you want to put out, just putting out that product or service should, if you're doing it right and you actually want to sell it, this takes like months of planning. You have to redirect all these energy, all these resources. Like we have a vertical jump program that we have, right? And we can push that out. But then along with that, we got a fix your arm swing program and a setting program, like learn how to set in volleyball.
Mm-hmm.
And I was starting in the beginning, I was like, yeah, just sell them all because people know we're beach volleyball, but it doesn't work. You have to actively, for each product, each service you have, there's got to be its own giant funnel, and people who want to end up in this buy have a different route than people who end up in the other buy. So that had to be tough, because people might say, he just kind of switched or pivoted over just a little bit. He's doing the same stuff anyway. It's like, no, this is now months of new work to do the same thing, just in a different direction or with a slightly different customer.
Exactly. And I was just about to say, as far as a different customer, you may still be in the overall same niche. Like, I'm still technically in sports, but pivoting from a sports podcast, because those are basically people who are fans of sports. Now, a fan could include just a regular fan, a player, current player, former player, on any level, whatever the case is. Pivoting from that to, okay, I'm still going to be in sports. I'll still talk about the game, maybe slightly different. But now, like you said, the clientele, the customer, that avatar has changed. So trying to sell my services or even just give value to a larger audience of people is different, right? I will say that one of the things I have learned is, instead of trying to, like you said, a lot of these products, different funnel and different marketing and different all this, that, and it can be extremely tiring, whether you have a team or whether you're doing it by yourself. But one thing I was able to learn was, okay, how can I have this work for me better while I'm still able to get all of my products out there? So I take whatever main product or service I have, and I take all those other ones that I still want to sell and just use it as an umbrella and as a bonus to the other services the main service that I want to provide. So let's just say I have a mentorship for college athletes where I can teach them step by step on how to build a brand and make money online, right?
Nice. How do they do that, by the way? Just before we go into the funnel, people sign up for you and you do one-on-one coaching with them. You give them like a video course. What does your product service look like before we go into how to buy it?
And I'm still revamping it again, not revamping, but adding something onto it. So as of right now, it is more so of a mentorship, like a one-on-one or one-to-many mentorship where, of course, I have my team reach out to you through my social platforms. So I'll personally reach out to you if I see, of course, you match that overall avatar. And I do have a couple of already like ebooks and courses and things that I've created like over time that as I'm giving that coaching to you, I give you those tools to, review it as well. So the ebook might be, how to build your brand online, and it'll give you like 10 steps, right? And it's kind of like, when you're in school and they give you a textbook and we go over things in textbook, you go over the things in the textbook. It's something similar to that, but of course I'm adding value that's outside of that book as well. Things that I've learned since making that book, things that I purposely didn't put in the book so I can explain it better rather than having to read it, things like that. So it's more so of like a mentorship. I'll get on a call, give them tips, or maybe I'll monitor their page and I'm like, oh, I like how you did this post, maybe do a little bit more of that. I see that tends to be working on your page, something like that.
Yeah. I think ebooks become underrated for people who want to do it, because there's something about, number one, doing a course, because we do a lot of online courses. We do doing a course and then doing it live, where you're actually talking to people through it instead of talking to a camera, because then they have all of these questions and you realize like, oh, the thing that I created, my first draft that I thought was so awesome and I was ready to sell, it's like, it doesn't answer, half of the questions that these people have. And then if you could put it also into an ebook, like, all right, now you've got your live, which means that you can help certain people who want to learn that way one-on-one. You've got a video format, which is a little bit easier. Hopefully you can get a visual format. And then people who like to read and ingest like that. And you're doing podcasts, right? Some people like to listen. That's how they learn best as well.
Exactly.
So I think when people don't make an ebook, you're limiting yourself, because that could be, number one, a business system for you. It could be sellable, or it could be just a guide for you to say, all right, these are the questions. This is how I'm going to go through my curriculum. So all these things, when people say, yeah, I'm just going to teach, but you don't write it down, you don't film it, and you don't do it live with anybody as like a dry run. all of those limit the level of that product. And I'm just talking about teaching products, right? Like course and coach mentorship. But I think a lot of people should start trying to create multiple versions of their course, of their teaching.
Very much so.
And then if I hand somebody an ebook, which like we're working on now, I got this thick binder of like the talks that I have, I'm like, wait a second, I had all this stuff written down, but then when I do it at our camps, I say way more than is in that book. So now I got to add all that text back into the book because I want them to be able to buy the book without me. If they have it and me, it's a bonus. I want them to be able to do it with me alone without needing the book. If they have the book, it's a bonus. So everything builds up on itself, right?
Exactly. And I'm glad you said that you want to be able to, if they were to buy the book as a standalone and not have you, they're still able to get the results, right? My mentor told me, right, you want to give away 90% of the value away for free and charge them for the 10%, right? So even if you put in an ebook, right, let's just say you put 90% of the value in there. Like you said, sometimes when you first started, like maybe your first draft, second draft, or even third draft, although you may think when you originally put it out, it has everything that they might need. But once it's in real world practice, you end up getting those questions, right? And that's why I always tell people, tell my mentees, the first thing you should do is create an ebook for two things. Like you said, for one, like I said earlier, you put all the value in there. If it's a standalone product, they're able to get the results. But for two, it acts as a guide for you when you're creating other digital products. Because think about it. It's kind of like that. Remember in school, what's the first thing they tell you to do when you're creating an essay?
Outline?
Exactly.
Yes. I remember school.
Technically, I've had somebody tell me brainstorm one time. So technically it's brainstorm. But the first
brain dump, right?
They do is they tell you to outline, right? And I tell people your ebook is like your outline. It's like your guide throughout any type of product that you're going to create, right? Even when it comes to creating content. Sometimes people are like, I don't know what content to create. I don't know what to do. I'm like, do you have an ebook? Now, if they say yes, I say, okay, go to your first chapter. What's the first thing that you said in your ebook? That should be the first piece of content you create, right? And then it goes then on. And then when you want to create a course, right? I don't know what I should put in my course. What's in your ebook, right? You just explain more and more from there, right? So it just acts as a stepping stone that you can continue to build more and more products off of. Now, of course, once you learn more, do more, and have a lot more testimonials and results, and you're able to give more value, you can make a volume 2 or a second ebook, or whatever the case is. But that first ebook acts as that guide through an entire process of being able to create content, create value, give out value, things like that.
Yeah. The more we coach in person, the more tools we get. I love, first of all, from maybe a sales standpoint, I love the idea of putting out your second draft and being like, here it is, buy it. Okay, it may be sloppy. And if you're honest with your audience and you go, here's all my information, I'm not sure if it's organized the best. Are you interested in seeing it, buying it? Like first 100 people to buy it just because it's my rough draft. And we all know that I'm doing this discounted charge, right? Exactly. This gives you the opportunity to make 2.0, 3.0 and have that whole, just like redo that whole sales process because you got to put it out. Look at iPhone. iPhone's on number 14 XZ, whatever.
It's on. I don't know how Samsung got to 20, but they keep putting out a product and revamping it over and over and over again until they get that perfect product, right?
Well, yeah, they still haven't figured out how to make it a blue bubble, So
yeah, I'm waiting.
I'm waiting.
But for real though, it's that thing that, for one, also, because I've always been a math and science person, right? I've always been numbers. So reading and writing, while of course I can do it, it's never been something I enjoyed doing it. Honestly, I always dreaded having to do it in school, right? So for whether you're that type of person or whether you're the type of person who's always enjoyed it, right? Creating a ebook, a book, right? It gives you a sense of validation in what you're doing as well, right? Because even though, like you say, you can be honest with your audience, hey, this is everything that I know currently, right? I don't know if it's organized. But give me feedback, right? Like you can also use it as a lead magnet, right? Of course, you eventually, I'm teaching college athletes how to make money online, right?
Can you say what a lead magnet is for anybody who doesn't know?
So a lead magnet is, now I can't remember the technical term, so I'm gonna give you the Alex definition.
There you go. The teacher definition.
Essentially, lead magnet is something that you use to attract clientele within your market, within your niche market, right? So a lead magnet could be, think about it like this, right? A buy one, get one free is technically a form of a lead magnet, right? Or, oh, if you sign up now, you'll get this product for free, right? And this is something that, and we've all seen it with a product or service or a company that we've never used before, but because they had that type of urgency in their lead magnet, now you've used them either once, twice, or a million times, right? So a lead magnet is essentially a product or service that, and it can be you can do a paid lead magnet, but I tend to like to, if you're going to use a lead magnet, do it for free first, especially when you're building up that market, because you're able to attract a lot of the clientele in the niche market that you're in. So I then tell people, like you said, now you can do a discounted price depending on if you already have an audience that kind of knows what you're starting to get into, right? Starting to talk about, yeah, if you're your first ebook, you can do a discounted price, right? But oftentimes people are in a position in which you're like, okay, I'm gonna start this, but I don't have anyone that follows me that knows that I do this. So how can I be the one who says, oh, it costs X amount of dollars, even if it's only like 20, 30, 40, $50, right? You can, instead of, because some people aren't comfortable, right? So I always tell them, all right, create it first. Of course, get it on paper, get it down. It doesn't have to be perfect. Give it away for free, right? Give it away for free for the first 5,200 people or for a certain time frame, right? Because now at least you have that product and then people are using it and you're able to get that feedback from them so you can then perfect the product, perfect the craft, and give yourself just more of a confidence boost.
Yeah. If we take this, so I'm always trying to translate from like sports to business. It's that aspect is we coach some people for a year, sometimes two, and they never play a tournament. And we're like, and they say, no, I'll play when I'm ready. I'll play when I'm ready. It's like, you're going to figure out how ready you are by stepping in there. By signing up for a tournament. Like if you know that it's a high level tournament, you're going to get your ass kicked. All right, fine, sign up. See in what ways you get your ass kicked. Exactly. Don't just like wait until you think you're ready. And same thing, if you're putting out a form of your business or a form or a version of your product, people be afraid that like they'll never sign up again. Those early subscribers, the people that are with you from the beginning, a lot of those are going to be your lifetime customers. Like the people that showed up first are going to be the ones that when you look at your accounts, oh man, like my number 1, 6, and 9 customer, these are the people that were with me from the start, and they like believed in me because, again, if you approach it with honesty and humility, if you're like, hey, I'm doing my best, I want your feedback, here's what I have at this point, and then keep treating them right, and they'll just keep coming back to you. You're quick to ditch a business when somebody in that business, any person, treats you wrong or that you think is somewhat unfair. Right. So for us, it's always been like, really? You need a full refund? Okay. Like, all right. That's, we don't think that's fair, but we don't want any bad blood. And there've been a couple of situations where it's like, oh, this is a bad blood type situation. And you have the choice to either exit it or fight through it. But usually the fight costs you more than anything.
Exactly. Time, effort, money, all that.
Yeah, and sleeping at night. Just
I'm never going to have somebody mess up my sleep. I need my beauty sleep. So.
It's working so far.
Exactly.
All right. So you said you have a family business. Did you grow up with that? My family was kind of blue collar. I don't know. We're somewhere between white collar and blue collar because my dad was an electrician and my mom was a nurse, right? We never once had any conversation about starting your own business. I did start a lemonade stand, for a week, whatever. But the business investing financial mindset, 100% not there. And I was talking with my wife the other day, and it's like, what was one thing that you could change about your childhood if you could? By the way, anybody who's listening, if you just want to have like some nice, cool talks with your wife or with somebody who you really enjoy, there's 36 questions to deepen your love. Take one question a night. That's what we do. And it ends up being like a good half-hour talk, and we get to talk about stuff that otherwise you wouldn't go on. And so one of them was, how do you change your childhood? For me, it was, I just wish somebody somewhere talked to me about finances other than pay off your credit card immediately, no matter what. That was probably some of the best advice that I got, but it also made me terrified of credit and credit cards, which that's a whole nother episode. But did you grow up in a business financial talking environment, and how did your family get started with their business?
So yes and no, I did, and I didn't grow up in that type of environment. So I grew up in that environment because as kids, my parents always had their own businesses, right? My mother had a pharmaceutical delivery company, and my father had a photography business. And this was, before the new age of phones having best type of cameras, right? This is when phones didn't have cameras, or maybe right when they started having cameras, they weren't good. So they both had their own 6 and even 7-figure businesses as a child, but in the same sense. So I was exposed to, okay, this is how it is to have money, but I wasn't exposed on the level that I felt as if I needed to understand how to keep money, right? We're always taught about, okay, how do you make money, right? And that's what a lot of people want to do. But the biggest key to wealth is not making money, it's keeping money and then having it grow. So I was taught how to make money, but just not how to keep it, save, not necessarily save it, but keep it, invest it, and then grow it, right? That's something that we end up learning later down the line. And as my brother and I started getting older, I have a brother who's 2 years older than me. So as we started getting older, that's something we ended up learning because of the mistakes that our family made when we were younger, right? So it's like, of course, like I said, you get a lot of money, but normally people who aren't taught how to manage money, they're going to essentially blow it, right? And not saying that we necessarily blew it, but over time, when that money wasn't coming in the way it used to, it's going to dwindle down, right? Now, we did a good job of still managing the money, so it didn't dwindle down super quickly. But after a while, it wasn't there the way it was. So we had to then learn, okay, how do we, like, what's another way of actually keeping generational wealth, not just making it, but keeping it. And that's what kind of led us down to the road in which we're on now. It actually started with a company called IML, iMarkets Live. Is basically like a company that was teaching you how to trade. This is, around the time in which a lot more smaller traders were, that idea was more fathomable, right? It was like 6 or so years ago. But yeah, it started off with understanding Forex, investing, trading, crypto, all of that. And it led us down this entire rabbit hole of understanding credit, and then how do you formulate a business properly, and then funding, and then all of these things that turned into the business that we are and company that we are today. So like I said, yes and no. No, as a child, I wasn't taught how to keep money, but as an adult, I was taught how to keep it. And we've always had that business mindset.
It's kind of like, I don't know, the metaphor that came into my mind was like, all right, you're great at getting seeds, but you have no idea how to keep a garden. So you're never going to have fruit, right? You're never going to have a tree sitting there. And if you can collect all the seeds you want, but you never understand how to actually care for them, how to plant them, and see them grow on their own, you can't make more seeds later on. And there's that opportunity. And if like that one person that you buy seeds from all the time, or is always giving you seeds, if they leave, you got nothing. You got no trees, no fruit. You're starving.
Exactly. So that reminds me of the fish analogy. I'm sure most people have heard by now. Give a man a fish, he eats for a day. Teach a man how to fish, he eats for a lifetime. It's kind of the same thing. Like I felt like we just kept being, of course we worked for it, but we just kept being given things rather than teaching us how to do it for ourselves.
Yep. So, Alex, let's talk about the current business now that you're teaching athletes branding in college and how to make money on their likeness and everything like that. First thing I want to know is there somebody or something that has influenced this in the biggest way? In other words, was there one person who is the source or allowance of your biggest growth? Is there somebody that you said, like, that conversation with that person got me to the next level of this business, whether it was starting it or whether it was success that you're seeing?
So yes, there were. So it's a 2-part answer, right? Because it's kind of two people. So for one, my overall biggest inspiration has always been my mother, simply because, like I said, she's always had that go-getter attitude. I think my entire life, she's always been a business owner, right? Like when she first came, because she's from Chicago, so when she first came down to Atlanta, she of course was working a regular job, but by the time she had my brother and I, she's always been a business minded person. So she's always taught me, no matter what, never quit, never give up, right? Always make sure you're striving for more. Like if there's something that you want to do, go and do it, right? There is no you can't. There is no, even if it's difficult, it's still obtainable, right? So she's always been that inspiration as far as like even throughout this journey as far as starting, you know, the company where I'm helping college athletes. She's always like, that's a great idea, right? Especially because, like I said, it was somewhat of a spinoff of sorts from the main family company. So it's like, oh, that's great. This is another way in which we can reach out to more families, help more families understand the power of finance and things like that. So that's that was the initial and still current inspiration now. But I actually talked to this one guy, right? And only have ever had one conversation with this man. Um, his name is Marty Majid. I hope I'm not mispronouncing it right. But basically, and we talked about this earlier, having a mentor, right? My mentor, the biggest thing I can say for my mentor is be I've been able to talk and meet new people that I otherwise felt as if I might not have met, right? So my mentor had an event. I met these two former college athletes that used to play at Vanderbilt, connected with them, and one of them basically connected me with their agent. And I had a 15-minute conversation. That's it, just a 15-minute conversation with this man. But the information and knowledge that he was able to share with me just on that quick 15-minute call has been able to give me a bit more focus on exactly how I'm going to help the college athletes, right?
Nice.
Because like I said, when I first started in this NIL space, there was no real path, right? Like I said earlier, the biggest disadvantage is what you don't know. So there's a lot of things I didn't know. And I was reaching out to college athletes had my assistant reaching out to college athletes through the DMs on Instagram. And the way I was going about it was, I'm like, hey, I can help you build your brand to a point in which you can get NIL endorsement deals and partnerships and stuff like that. The way I was doing it was technically illegal, come to find out, because I'm not a licensed agent. So I stopped doing it that day, right? And then it helped me hone in more on, okay, because I felt like I was trying to do more than one thing with helping him at once. Like, I can help you build your brand, but I can also help you get endorsement deals. And I'm like, okay, and I was getting overwhelmed. So he basically helped me hone in on basically helping somebody build their brand alone, but also building a business around your brand. Now, if you build your brand to a point, right? Like Tesla, for example, a lot of people know about Tesla because of Elon Musk.
Yep.
Not necessarily because of Tesla itself. Now, of course, Tesla would still be, I feel as if, a very successful company. But without Elon Musk and just his overall brand, which is just him, right? His persona, it wouldn't be as big as it is. So I tell people that, I'm like, you want your personal brand to be so big and influential that no matter what business you start, a lot of people are automatically going to want to get into that business because of who you are, right? So how can you build your brand? What are the 8 common things that top brands have in common that you can essentially follow? And then from there, start implementing into your own brand, business, and company.
I like
so
that.
He was able to help me hone in more on that message rather than trying to do a million things at once within one space.
I like that. And here's how I'm hoping that I'm implementing that is, and this is what I tell a couple of people. Like my brother started a coffee company called Tradition Coffee Roasters. And I said, if you have an audience, definitely post about this on your personal thing, right? Like, but make sure that you're also doing it on the company's Instagram or social media. So keep padding your own stuff so that everybody recognizes you, but also make sure that the brand or the company or the business can live separately from you. For us with Better at Beach, it was so much, anytime I wasn't coaching a class, people started getting real disappointed, and like they'd be like, hey, we signed up for you and now you're not there. And I realized, shoot, I got to get more people on camera. I got to get more people coaching regularly, even if it's going to cost me now. If I don't have other people coaching these classes and getting the people used to learning from elite players through Better at Beach instead of learning from Mark, I would have never been free of it, you know? And so now that I'm able to work on Entreprenathlete and I'm able to do a couple of other things because I put people in my place and I said, no, Better at Beach Volleyball is a company, it's a brand. That's where you learn volleyball, not from Mark. Like, yeah, I started, sure, whatever, but not from me. You learn from this company of amazing coaches and everything. So I always tell people, like, if you've got that brand, use it. One company started off, it's got 50,000 followers. Share on that platform that, hey, this new parent or sister or related company is coming up, and just keep twin posting. And that's how I think my account when I started Beach was at like a 10 or 15,000 or something like that. And now my company's brand has twice the number of followers that I do, which wow. I'm like, yes, this is great. So it can survive beyond you. Yeah.
And I like that, because oftentimes, one thing that helped me realize why I need to build my personal brand so all of my companies can be successful in their own right is because somebody told me this, right? They said, whenever you build a brand, one of the first things that you should be thinking about is an exit strategy. Whether you eventually want to sell the company or not, you should be setting that business and brand up just in case that is something you want down the line, right? And like how you said earlier, a lot of people were getting disappointed if they weren't getting the training by you originally. So you had to form it to where the company itself could stand and still be successful without you. And a lot of people, they put so much energy and time and effort into, of course, you want to put energy, time, and effort into your business and into your brand, right? Yeah. But they end up getting too emotionally attached, because instead of having your personal brand and then your business brand, they combine them into one and the same, right? And that limits you in a lot of ways. One of those ways that it can possibly limit you, and which I feel as if probably limits a lot of entrepreneurs, is that when you're not working in your business isn't making money, or it's at least not making as much money as when you're working, right? So then you have to look at, all right, aside from the branding aspect, how is it that my business is making money with me than without me? Is it because I'm micromanaging people too much? Is it because I'm too involved in the business as a personal self? Is it, or, one, et cetera, right? You have to figure out, okay. And then from there, and normally it's because you're too invested. Your personal brand is too much into the business brand. Now, if that's the type of business that you have, then that's okay, right? I mean, that's the type of business that it is.
I like that you took that deep breath. It's like, if that's the type, you're never gonna be free. Like, you're putting shackles on yourself.
Exactly. Exactly. You put a limit. Of course, when you start your own business, technically, the sky is the limit, right? But when you start a business and you are the business, then you're still putting yourself at a cap, right? So you have to make sure that that business can stand alone on its own for when it needs to. Now, I'm not saying that you have to. I know some people want to be more involved in the business, right? And that's fine. There's nothing bad about that. But I don't know about you all. I love traveling. I love vacationing. I love seeing the world, right? So when I'm not here assisting my mentees, right, I need my business to still be able to run, if not on at least the same level, preferably at a higher level when I'm not there. And that's all by building the business brand rather than not my brand. Like how you said, your business page now has more followers than your personal brand. And I've seen your personal page. You have a good amount of followers on there. So that's you're doing the right thing. You're building the brand up the way it should be. So that's how people should model it off of.
Yeah. And I, because I started, because I had same thing. I had like virtual assistants or people posting, creating content for my personal and for the company. And I was just like, no, I need to push more money into this company right now. So I said, you're going to post twice as much stuff on the company page as you do on my page. And that was, it shows. It's proof that now this company is surviving, and that means that I can step away, that I can have cool conversations with guys like you and not have to be wondering, worrying, stressing about it, and that will live forever. Like if you look at Dallas Mavericks, right? So wait, Mark Cuban owns the Mavericks or the Spurs?
Yeah,
Mavericks.
He does.
Yeah. And the Mavs are always going to be a brand, but now people associate Mark Cuban with it because he bought it. That is currently his business. And whatever he goes on to do, he's like, he was just the owner of the Mavs. But whatever the Mavs are doing, they're not going to lose their fanship if Mark leaves. And that's the hope that you should have, that you can create something that survives without you. And if you want to translate now business and sports right back into life, you should be able to create, like if you're raising, and I'm thinking right now, because I got a daughter on the way, my first daughter.
Congratulations.
And thank you. I'm like, she's got to be able to stand on her own 2 feet. You know, if I'm always there and if I always fight every battle for her, she's not going to learn anything. And I see a lot of parents right now who just constantly fight battles and save their kids. There's a time to save your kid for sure, but you got to let them have tough conversations and tough times if they're ever going to be able to survive without you. So
same thing in business. You have to, especially when you start hiring a team, because like I said earlier, a lot of people get so invested into their business and their brand. It's hard to relinquish control in certain areas when you start having somebody do it, right? A lot of people think when you hire somebody, they need to do it, like starting off, they need to do it just as good as you. And that's more than often, that isn't even the case. This would be an amazing world if that was the case, right? But unfortunately, that's not the case with most businesses. When you're hiring someone, you need to find someone who can do it 80% as good as you when they start off, but you also want to hire someone who has the passion and drive, right? I'd rather hire somebody who has zero skill but has the passion and drive and matches my core values, because skill can be taught, passion can't, right?
Yep.
So you tie in the passion with somebody who has 80% of who can do my job at least 80% well, as they continue to learn my business more, as they continue to, because when we hire people, we're not just, of course, giving them tasks to get better at what they're doing, right? We give them extra courses to grow more. Like any courses that we have bought for ourselves, our team has access to.
Great.
Because
do you mandate it? Do you say like, hey, for this role, you have to go through this within the first month, 2 months, 3 months? We're starting to implement stuff like that. But we haven't in the past. It's just been us teaching one-on-one.
Yes, we do. Now, so let's just say we have 10 courses, right? For 10 different positions. Of course, whichever course is related to your position, you have to learn that within, the 2-week onboarding process. I think it's like a week or 2-week onboarding process. After that, we encourage you to look at the other courses, right? Now, some of them might not necessarily be specific to your job title, or your job specification. So you might not want to watch that or need to watch that. But if it's, let's just say you're a social media manager, right? You're handling all the marketing for all of my social media and outreach and things like that. I have my VA. I told her, I was like, hey, because she already has a little bit of like graphic design skills. I was like, I want you to start, taking more time. And I was like, even if it's 5 minutes a day, 10 minutes a day, 15 minutes a day, or 10 minutes a week, I want you to start taking the time to improving your graphic design skills, improving your video editing skills, watch some of the courses that we have here already, so you can get better on that. Because like I said, skill can be taught, right? I eventually want to, and we had this conversation yesterday, as far as you finding that right person, and then you should do everything in your power to keep that right person. If that person is, for one, works at a high level, but also loves to work with your business, because those two are very hard to find.
Hard.
I know I did a weird pause there, but
no, it's hard to find the people who actually have passion. And then a lot of times, I think if I'll go back to the parent that I hope to be soon, it's, you're going to give some tasks, or you're going to give, I'm going to sign my daughter up for tennis and for soccer and definitely jujitsu. But she's got to figure out what she's passionate about, and that's going to allow her to become the best possible person in her life. And I've had now 2 employees that have become rock stars that I started them out doing one task because I needed something. They're like, yeah, I can do that. And then in their off time, I saw where their energy was going. Like they sent me something cool, or they did something on their personal Instagram. And I was like, could you do that for us? And they're like, oh man, I've had ideas, coming up for a long time. And then they would send me stuff. So now we even pivot employees, because it's, if I hired you for something, but you're so much more passionate about another thing and you're really good at it, All
Mm-hmm.
right, do this job. I'll find somebody who loves doing this job. Do it in the meantime, but you can start going on that next path. And I think a lot of athletes should be doing this as well. And coaches, have your players play different positions, even if it's for one practice. Like,
Mm-hmm.
let your O lineman play quarterback for 15 minutes. Do you know how much fun they're gonna have? You know.
They're gonna have fun with that. But you might realize, oh, he has arm, and on a trick play, he might be able to bump it down the field,
Yep.
right? Might
We had a
like
kick returner in high school that was that. He was slow and lazy and whatever. And then anytime like we were messing around, he went untouched on punt and kick returns. I'm like, how is this kid
what's
doing this?
going
And then
on?
we put him in and he killed it for us.
And see, another thing that, like you said, I like when you said pivoting employees, right? Because a lot of people don't do that. But one thing that people don't do even more is pivoting mentees, pivoting those
Mm,
people that, like, especially in business, right? Think about it. If we have a family business, we have a family company where we teach credit, funding, business formation, how to diversify, all that, right? Instead of always trying to find someone or pivoting an employee to fill a position, one of the mentees that we've gotten to a certain level who have gone through all of our courses, who has gone through all of our trainings, right? And of course, they not every mentee is going to want to do that, but the ones who do, the ones who are really engaged,
mm,
oftentimes you'd be like, hey, you've done an amazing job. You've been able to do X, Y, and Z in this time frame. You've really been like, that ideal mentee for us. I want you to come on and speak to some of our newer mentees, or maybe be if you're making a new course, right? Maybe be one of the sections in the course and teach, right? Not
mm.
just give a testimonial, but teach, right? You're putting them in a position to grow even more. And next thing you know, you've helped someone else create a passion that maybe they didn't know they had, or maybe they create a business out of that. And it all started with, of course, them being in your mentorship, but it really started from you giving them that opportunity to grow.
Yep. You know, isn't it scary having somebody from your team who's really good at something start to teach somebody else? Because do you worry that that person is then going to worry that their job is in trouble? You know, they're like, why would I train this other person to do my job? And for
Mm-hmm.
me, from my view and trying to make it clear to the people that we've done this, like we have a really good editor who made our YouTube pop off, and she's become that. And then we asked her to train a couple of other video editors, and she went at it a little time. She's like, I can't really teach this. It's a waste of my time. And then you're going to be paying him instead of me. And I was like,
Mm-hmm.
if you can do this, that means that you're a teacher. Now you can train a team of editors. And I think
Mm-hmm.
versatility as an employee or as a 1099er or a freelancer, the more things you have the ability to do and the more times you can train anybody under you, then you could pop your business, you could pop your effectiveness. And if you have a
Exactly.
boss that wants to fire you because you trained a replacement, that's probably the wrong boss anyway.
Yeah,
You
you shouldn't
know,
be working for that company regardless.
no, that's your next step to CEO. Like, if you can put that person in charge of training somebody, you go, oh, they onboarded that person without me needing to talk to them. Huh. All right, here, take some more responsibility. Here, take some more responsibility. Here's a new $100,000 salary. I'm out. Let me know if anything's going
Exactly.
wrong with the company.
Exactly. And that just also comes with having the right mindset, right? If
Mm,
you're if you have the mindset in which, and it's okay, like we all have had mindsets that we've had to grow out of to get to the point where we are now. But if your mindset is, oh, I don't want to teach or train this person because they might take my job, I'm having you train them to take your job. But it's not to kick you out, it's to elevate you and have you grow, right?
yep.
I don't want anyone on my team who wants to stay in the same position 5 years from now. If you're
Yeah.
not willing to grow, then unfortunately, at some point in time, you will either get let go or you'll want to leave, right? And prefer more than likely, you'll probably get let go because as we ascend, I'm not going to have somebody who's not ascending with me. I heard this analogy, and it's like not everybody can go with you to success, right? It's like a
Hmm.
rocket. As you boost through the atmosphere, as you go through the tough turbulence, the gravity, everything that's pulling you back down, right? After you get to a certain level, those boosters have to fall off. right? So those are the people who are falling off and there's nothing wrong with them falling off. It's not saying that they were bad. It's not saying that they weren't a
No,
right fit
they
for your
got you
team.
there. They're the boosters.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly. They were needed for the necessary journey to get you to a certain point so you can continue to ascend higher. Right.
Yeah.
So I'm looking for those people who are going to be in the cockpit with me, right? The people who are going to be with me throughout the journey. I understand that there are going to be some of those boosters that fall off throughout, and that's perfectly fine. I hope that whatever they then transition to after us, they have still been able to grow while they're with the company so they can ascend in their own way. But overall, I'm looking for A players, right? I'm looking for people who have the energy, that want to be here, that want to grow the company, the business, and eventually, push come to shove, possibly run the business, right? Because like I said, when you go into business, you should have an exit strategy. Now, if that means I sell it to somebody else and I make sure with whatever that is, that they keep you on as CEO or COO or CMO, CFO, whatever you've ascended to, right? That's fine. But I'm looking for people to grow within. That's the biggest thing to me, because then they are the ones who help you grow outwardly as well.
So that being said, what was the toughest task, responsibility, or thing that you handed off to somebody that took you the longest time, was the hardest for you mentally to get over? Because I know certain things people are like, no, this has to be me. And then finally they get pushed enough to either a point of desperation, or somebody smart comes along and tells them, you got to drop that. You've got 3 months to drop that task completely. So do it. What was the hardest role, task, whatever that you've given for whatever reason?
That's a good one.
Gotten off your plate.
That one in a little second. The hardest role or task I've had to. So I'll do it in a 2-part answer because our family business is also at a higher level than what my current athlete business is. So I'll start off with my current athlete business. Honestly, as simple as it sounds, passing off my social media was probably a bit difficult for me, right?
Scary.
Because
you're worried about like old DMs from like 20 years ago. Like, are they gonna dive through my inbox?
I deleted those before we got there. But no, it's so everyone talks differently for starters, right? So growing up in every part of the world, every part of America, they have their different dialect, their different slang, their different ways of speaking. So I'm used to being more casual, even when I'm speaking in a business tone, right? I'm still used to being more casual when I speak. My VA is extremely professional, which I like, but at the same time, it's like, okay, how can I, it's just like the learning curve from her understanding how I still want my Instagram run while still being able to be open to her insights, because this is what she does, right? I hired her because honestly, like I said, when you hire somebody, you want them to do what you that task. Because all right, let me slow down. When you hire somebody, they're doing a task that you've already done, but you want them doing that task at least 80%. When I hired her, she was already doing it a better percentage than what I was doing it at, right?
Nice.
So it's being able to, okay, I'm still receptive of all of this information, knowledge, and value that you have, because this is something that you've done for a while. But in the same sense, this is how this business and this company is ran, especially with this is how I want my social media to be branded, things like that. So that was a major curve for me as far as my personal business. When it comes to the athlete business, and there are still a lot of things that we're still working on as far as relinquishing power. Payroll was probably the biggest one for us as far as relinquish, because my mother I'm good with numbers. My mom is a whiz with numbers, right? So trying to initially start the conversation of, I feel as if we should pass payroll off to somebody else. She didn't take that kindly, because the way we originally related, it wasn't like it wasn't related in a way that commended her abilities, which she's been doing a great job. It's like, all right, you need to focus on more income generating activities, and focusing on payroll isn't one of those.
Yeah.
Right. So that was probably one of the harder conversations we had to have within the business, because it's also, excuse me, you also have to know how to speak to people as well, and say things in a way that doesn't offend them when you're not trying to offend them, of course.
Yeah.
Right. So that
people
was
forget that they
the,
got to work on that. Like
Yeah.
coaching, coming from New York, me coaching was just making fun of people. And
Hmm.
I lost athletes a lot because they're like, this coach just wants to rip on me all practice and he thinks that's coaching. Great. So I had to change like my whole
Hmm.
the way I approached everything. And then you realize that, especially like you said, if you're coaching people around the country or around the world, you have to understand how you sound, and not only how you sound, but how they take it. And then you can't always be, well, that's how they take it. It's, you can fight through that and then find your people. That's going to take you longer because you're going to be a
Hmm.
niche leader, or you can mold yourself. But anyway, side path. But yeah.
And one thing we're still implementing now. This is a current process, and that we're still more so in the beginning stages on for both the family company and my company. Technically, in my company, I only have the social media manager, but because I'm like, it's a subsidiary under the parent company, I still use all of the employees as
Hmm.
resources.
And
But
you got your brother. He's there controlling the cameras and
not
tech
well, not on
guy.
this one, not on this one, but he was on our podcast, on the other podcast. But no, it's understanding personality types as well,
Mm,
right? Because there are four main personality types. The DISC assessment. So that's one thing that we're literally just starting to implement more in our business, understanding different people's personalities and then how to speak to that person with that type of personality. Because I have a different personality. Maybe somebody who has a similar or same personality as me, I can speak to them normally how I'm used to speaking, right? Because they understand. But somebody who has the complete opposite personality, right? I have to, like you said, like how you said, you're usually making jokes, but their personality type, they're not equipped, or maybe where they're from, they're not equipped to receive it in the endearing way that you probably were originally giving it off. So it's just
right.
that's something that I feel as if goes under the radar a lot within life, business, whatever, right? Understanding different people's personality types, because it is a rigorous process, right? It's not just understanding the personality type, it's how to communicate with them, how to teach and instruct them. Like it's a lot that goes into the personality type and how somebody is receiving and processing information. So, and then having a team in which there's multiple different personalities, and like, okay, how can I form a message that
Hmm.
talks to the team without having to send individual messages just to specify to one overall personality. So
Right. That's where I've turned it into, like, team messages are celebrations. Like anytime you're just figuring out how to reward somebody, how to give somebody like a high five in front of everybody else and commend them. And that
mhm,
feels good no matter who you are, no matter what you're doing. Like if you can give a version of a high five for
mhm,
somebody who did something even remotely good, like anytime, man, you make a layup, you're probably getting two high fives on the way back down the court, right?
exactly.
Like if you answered one good customer service email saying nice job on that, that should be standard. That should be something that we pull
Mhm,
from our sport into our business world. Not, yeah, that's what you're expected to do, make layups. It's like, good job, because you did
exactly.
what you were expected to do.
And
You know?
that's a lot in business. People, yes, I'm paying you to do a job. I expect you to do it at the level in which we discussed when I hired you. But that does not mean I'm not going to congratulate you along the way, right? Because and I had to realize that. Thankfully, my assistant Johanna, hopefully she sees this and she's happy about it. But thankfully, my assistant, she wasn't the type to get discouraged easily. But I had to realize, I'm like, okay, for one, when I'm the type of person, when I think of an amazing idea, I have to text it immediately before it
I'm the
slips out
same
of my
way.
head. No,
And then you
it'll be like
overwhelm people, and it's like,
it's,
oh,
it's
like,
like
dude,
it's
it's
like
5
it'll
a.m. I don't know
be
what you want me to do with this right now.
exactly. It'll be like, oh, I need X, Y, and Z done, and this is a good idea. And I had to realize, I'm like, for one, let me start off by saying, hey, Johanna, and then getting into it, right? Saying hey to acknowledge. And then although you're doing what I already expect you to do, I'll be like, you're doing an amazing job. I've seen all the work you've done to help grow my page or to help get podcast guests and or whatever the case is, right?
Mhm.
Although that's what I'm paying you to do, that does not mean I can't congratulate you in doing it, right? People need that morale booster.
Yeah.
Like they need that energy is transferable, even in virtual, right? Energy is transferable. So I need to make sure that that positive energy continues to flow between both of us and not just
Hmm.
one way or not at all, because that's also how you keep those people, like I said, the people who you want that are for your team and for your core, like they love your company, they'll do whatever for it, right? That does not mean they can't lose that passion, because they can if you're not giving them the right amount of attention, the right amount of support, and things like that. So
Oh
I
yeah.
realize that that is very important, and also keeping those happy people happy.
It's like more than 3/4. I'll just make up a percentage, but it's a crazy high percentage of people don't quit their job because they don't like what they're doing. They quit it because they don't like their boss.
Yes, I've quit jobs because I don't like my boss.
I've quit teams. I exited my team in Croatia with a punt at the coach. Like, not super proud of it, but I went out the way every athlete wants to with a dick coach. See you later. He's
Yeah,
like, "You're
but
off
yeah,
the team." I'm like, "Yeah, I know." Like, you don't
what
have
you
to
think
say
I
that
did that
either, you
for?
idiot.
Yes, no, that's true, and that's what I try to get a lot of athletes to understand as well, right? Like,
Mm,
in your business, for one, you need to build a brand that people want to work with, but you also have to build a brand that people want to continue to work with,
mm,
right? Not just, oh, yeah, I partnered with Nike one time. Well, why didn't you partner with them again? Oh, they said they didn't like how I did this or did that, right? Like, you have to build a company that brings repeat business, not
yeah.
just one time business, right? So, and that goes into the morale, that goes into the how you your overall culture, even if it's just you to start off, right? Even if you don't
Mm,
have any employees, you still need to be the person um, that you want other people to be. And my mentor has a mentor, right? And his name is Myron Golden, and he said this: be, do, have. Be a little, do a little, have a little. Be a lot, do a lot, have a lot. And it's basically, to just do a quick breakdown of that, right? um, People always want to do something to have something, right? They're always talking about, you need to do this, you need to do that, you need to do this, you need to do that. But first, you have to become that person that
mm,
does those actions, because you can do those actions all you want, but if you're not that person, if you don't become that person, then those actions will eventually die off, and then the things that you want to have, you either won't have them at all, or you'll only have them for a short period of time. But if you
right.
become that person who is always positive and uplifting of their team, and just a person that people want to be around, if you become that person who is always putting in the extra mile, then you'll do the actions that then follow becoming that person, and then you'll have whatever it is that you're trying to have.
Yeah, right. We are what our habits. We are
Mm-hmm.
our habits. Whatever you do
Exactly.
consistently, that's who you are, regardless of what you're even thinking.
Mm-hmm.
Even if you're thinking something different, like this compliment's kind of a waste of time. This person's soft because I'm complimenting them. Like, it doesn't matter, because then you become a good person because of the actions and the habits that you have.
Exactly. Exactly.
A quick little dive into you giving your personal Instagram over to a VA, which I think people get real cautious of. I know my brother, when he was talking about
A little
giving
scary.
over his email passwords and social media passwords, he's like, "You serious? There's got to be a way." Um, I know there are some things that have like passwords, like you can use
Mm-hmm.
Sprout or Hootsuite or stuff like this, but not
I use
all of them
LastPass.
are all encompassing, where you can send messages, receive messages, where you can, like reels especially, like it's so hard to post reels to Instagram
Mm-hmm.
from any other platform. So do you think, first question, do you think that people should have a personal and a personal brand Instagram?
What, you mean a personal and a business brand, or you
So
said?
like one that
Oh,
I can
so
mess
you.
around with
Oh,
on Instagram, and then like, should I have
gotcha.
like Mark Burik,
The
just me
personal.
when I want to, just post up whatever I want and have conversations, and then create another Instagram for
The
VA
personal brand.
purposes and stuff like that?
Gotcha.
Or do you think you just use your own and you put that trust of password stuff into somebody? Because that password for your personal brand, like if I've got 60,000 followers and somebody posts the wrong thing or decides to screw me
Yeah.
over, right? That's
Yeah.
8 years of work right there.
Mm-hmm. So it starts off with, some people strictly use Instagram for, just scrolling, just to be on Instagram, right? Some
Yeah.
people use it for business, and some people do both, right? I feel like you need to identify which one you are first. If you want to use Instagram for just Instagram, first of all, you shouldn't have a personal brand page regardless, right? Just have personal. If you want to use it strictly for business, right, then you need to have that level of trust, right? And of course, systems in place as well, because trust can only go so far, right? Like I said, we use a platform called LastPass. That's where we put all of our
I've got
uh
that thing on my thing. I just never
yeah.
really
Yeah,
figured
and
out how to use
sometimes
it.
it acts up a little bit. It won't share properly, and we just gotta wait a little while. But LastPass, we've been using that for well over a year, and that's what we put all of our passwords on, and then we share it with our team, and they get a temporary password.
Hmm.
So I don't, I
Oh,
don't
like
give
every
out
time
my.
they sign in?
Well, technically, they sign in once and it stays signed in. But yes, every
Okay.
time they sign in, it'll still give them, because we share it to whatever email. So we create a work email for our team,
Nice.
and we share our, and anything they do that regard, like quick side note, anything we do in our business, they need to be using their work email, because we
Okay.
have access to that work email. We have the password. They're not supposed to change the password, so on and so forth, right? So that gives that extra layer of security. Now when it comes to sharing passwords, right, I'm going to use LastPass. I'm going to input it in on mine. Now of course they don't have the actual login to LastPass, otherwise they'd be able to see all the passwords.
Okay.
But I put it on LastPass, and then I share it to their work email. So it still adds that extra layer of security. Now, of course, there's still some trust, because they can still post. They still have access to your account, right? They can
Yeah.
still technically post whatever and say whatever. But that just comes down to what I like to call minimum wage activities. And I'm going to explain why I said that, right? Do you want to be as a business owner, do you want to be only focused on managing your Instagram, right? Like, do you only want to be focused on responding to DMs? Like, of course, that's going to bring in sales, but that isn't that high income producing activity, right?
Yeah.
Managing your Instagram is a minimum wage activity. So you need to pass off minimum wage activities to people who you pay to do those,
Mm-hmm.
which then means you have to be able to trust them. You shouldn't hire anybody that you don't trust, right? In whatever position and job duties that they're going to be doing.
It's
So
harder
if
for
you
some
don't
people
trust
than others. Some people just
it,
naturally don't trust people.
even when I got my VA sharing it, I was extremely weary. I'm like, I
Yep.
don't know if I should do this. I don't know. And then, like I said, it's that also that learning curve of trying to get everything onboarded. But look, if you want to have a personal page and a business page, right, or a personal page and a personal brand page, you can.
Mm-hmm.
I suggest just having one, simply because, like I said, your personal brand is what is going to essentially have all of your businesses and business brands grow.
Yeah.
Excuse me, sorry. So you don't want to create a personal brand and then a personal, because that kind of defeats the purpose of having that personal brand page, right? That personal brand page is meant to show who you are. You can be whoever you want to be, right? There is no fake it till you make it anymore, right?
Mm-hmm.
Because thankfully I've never gotten canceled. I hope to never get canceled with the cancel culture, whatever. But people, when they spot people who are faking, right, then they want to cancel them, right? Then it's like, oh, they were lying. You could be lying on the smallest thing, right? Like, oh, these shoes are real and they happen to not be real, right?
Mm-hmm.
First of all, who
You
cares
can
if the
tell the
shoes
truth and be
are real
canceled.
or not? But like, so people like the openness, right? So that's why it's like you just need to be able to trust of course, whoever you're hiring, if they're
Mm-hmm.
going to be managing your social media, because you don't want to be. What's the point of having a personal page, right, and then having a personal brand page? Like, it kind of doesn't make sense. You
Yeah.
can filter messages in Instagram, so any messages you don't want your VA seeing, you can put them. I like to put them in general, and all the regular messages just stay in primary. So
Oh, interesting. Oh, all right.
yeah,
There's a good tip.
yeah.
So
So
you kind of dedicate certain things to say, hey, you're only answering the primary
yep,
inbox. I'll take
yep,
care of general.
exactly. In
And
general,
then
could be
you could
just.
always slide one over and like mark it as
Mhm.
priority or something, right?
Yeah, yeah. Like
Nice.
on iPhone, you swipe right on, or I don't know, you swipe to show the little message settings on there, and
Mm-hmm.
it'll say more, unread, and depending on which folder it's in, it will say primary or general.
Cool.
So any conversations that I have, whether it's somebody who maybe when we first spoke, right? It was originally in primary, but once the conversation started going somewhere, I moved it to general, so then I can continue having that conversation. I can always move
Nice.
it back over to primary if I wanted to, and have her continue having a conversation. But anything in general, she knows not to message or touch anybody in general, right? That could just be
Great.
my friends that I follow, and I'm always laughing or sending them stuff, or they're sending me stuff, right? I don't want her sending out a DM script to one of my friends, and they're like, bro, what are you doing? So it's like, it definitely helps when it comes to messaging and being able to reach out and do business.
That's perfect. That's something I'm going to use right after this. And Jake, our producer, he's listening, and we're like, yes, we got an answer. Okay. Because I definitely, I got a group of friends. We're a bunch of numbskulls, and I don't want him seeing any of those. I don't want anybody seeing the messages from that group.
I will say this though. Instagram recently did a feature to where now they have an all tab. So technically primary in general is now in the all tab, which I kind of don't like, honestly, but I just tell her, hey, just stay in primary, right? It's very simple, because when you start a new message, it automatically is in primary. So let's just say I start a new message with somebody and I don't want her doing it. I don't want her responding to it. I'll immediately go to the messages and just put it in general.
I can't stand that Instagram and Facebook still don't have a mark as unread feature. It kills me. You know, like as soon as you open it, what?
Yeah, I'll open a message and then it's the same. It's the same
on Facebook Messenger too.
Oh, I don't know about Facebook Messenger, but on Instagram, I can read a message and then mark it as unread.
Okay, I go back.
I do that all the time, actually, when I don't want to respond to somebody immediately, or like,
maybe I was just tying the two of them together. All right, Facebook Messenger. Facebook Messenger, you can't.
Oh, you can't on Facebook Messenger?
Facebook Messenger, I don't think you can, but
yes, you can. You can.
What?
So you hit you swipe over like you normally do. You hit the three dots, and it'll say something that says "mark as unread," and then it marks as unread.
Swipe over. Three dots.
I didn't even know that one.
Oh, this had to be like. This is not funny. Like, this had to be within the last 10 minutes that they just made this update, because it's been making me cry.
They did have the Instagram one, but the Facebook one I just found out right now. I didn't even know about that one.
All right, good. See, this is why you talk to people, find mentors, find the people in your social circle.
Exactly. Because sometimes, like I said, I'll read a message, but let's just say I'm either busy and I can't respond right now, or maybe I just want my answer. My VA to respond. Yeah, I was like, okay, I'll read it, and then, or maybe, sometimes somebody will send a message more than one message, and I'm like, dang, it's not like you can peek into the message like you can on like iPhone, iMessages or anything. So I open it, read it, and then unread it.
All right.
Very simple.
There we go. We got a couple things. Okay, so a couple more things, and then let you go, and we'll wrap this up. But one of the things that I want to know, so we talked about like kind of giving away certain things in your business and just having be okay with them going in there and say you have to let go at some point of everything. You have to be able to let go of some point to be able to do that. But I want to know specifically now, there's only 3 questions left, specifically now, what your business services are, what you're charging, and specifically how you chose those niches. So what do people sign up for when they come to you, Alex?
Family business or the sports business?
Let's go with the sport business, the new one. Yeah.
Okay, so as of right now, they technically cannot purchase any of my sports products.
Okay.
Because I am creating a new website, and I want that website to be a platform where all of my education products are there. It'll be a subscription-based product. So they can create a free account, right? And I'll go into a bit more specifics on what type of account they can create, but they can create a free account, get access to what I call NIL Basics course, which I'll be making a course where I just go over the overall basis of NIL, how to understand it, things like that. And then any extra products that I have, they'll have to subscribe on a monthly basis to get access to all of those products. So as of right now, they can't get access to any of those unless they DM me and say, hey, I really want this new ebook you
then
got
take
out
the rough draft. Yeah,
exactly. But when that website is up and running, they'll not only be able to get basically all of my education stuff, right? They will also, this would be a platform in which not only athletes can create an account, but let's just say a lawyer or a business who wants to partner with the athlete, right? This would be like a social media website, but for NIL. Okay. So you can create a profile, you can link all your other profiles, and then you'll be able to actually connect with the business on the platform, get an NIL deal, and then there will be a lawyer who's able to review the contract or any specifications. There
Oh,
will be
that's
a
nice.
school faculty or somebody who's at the school who can be able to review that contract, because each NIL deal needs somebody from the school, or it can, maybe in its infant stages, the faculty might not know about it, so it can still be an export, so you can send it to whoever needs to review it, things like that. So that's
Oh,
essentially the platform that I'm creating now, because what I learned was throughout this journey is, for one, college athletes or college students in general. We all heard of
yeah.
a broke college student before, right? So I tried selling like high ticket products, because the mentorship I'm in, that's one thing they taught us and push, and it's worked for our family business, but
Mhm.
you also need to know your clientele. So I'm like, what can people afford?
Right.
Netflix is basically $20 now, and everybody has some type of Netflix, Hulu, some type of streaming account. So I'm like, why not create a subscription based model and go from there? At any given time, there are just under 500,000 college athletes in America.
Nice.
Professional
Yeah.
sports, if you take all the professional sports and combine them, there's just under 12,000, right? So I have a larger pool. Exactly. I have a larger pool of athletes. So I'm like, even if I only get 1% of people subscribed a month at $20, so basically
Mhm.
5,000 athletes at $20 a month, that's still a good amount of, for me as a business owner, it's still a good amount of revenue coming in,
Yeah.
right? So it's like, I'm not trying to price gouge the athlete, right? I'm trying to get them to a point which they're making money, but how can I do it that's also best serving for both of us, right?
Right.
So that's kind of what I'm working on right now.
We had this kind of minimum. We did some similar. So we got courses, and uh, we kept trying to sell individual courses, then a different
Mhm.
membership, then online coaching with meetings, a Facebook group where everybody gets coached, and all these renditions were pretty good. And we probably chased a few paths for a little bit too long. But now I said, like,
Mhm.
what's the main thing that we absolutely want? And for us, it's subscription, because we can rely on subscriptions. It becomes predictable
Mhm.
and it's easy. And then we can put all of our efforts to saying, look, this is the one offer. Because the hard lessons that I
Exactly.
learned were creating all these different offers and then trying to sell them all at the same time. Or, man, it didn't work. Like, imagine you're a point guard, right? And you suck it up for the first week. And instead of continuing to practice your handles, you're just like, I guess I'm a big man now. It's like, you can't give up. If your
Yeah.
jump shot sucks, don't just only take layups. So you have
Mhm.
to figure out how to make it work, not just switch to another skill, switch to another sport. And if
Exactly.
whatever sales process you're not doing is, don't switch the thing that you're trying to sell, just
Mhm.
switch how you're doing it. Find a coach that helps
Mhm.
you fix it until it becomes that. And so now everything that we're doing is subscription, and then we're saving some like really upgraded coaching for later down once they're in the subscription for a while. And then
Exactly.
easiest route, we said, well, what's the easiest route? How do we make this decision easy quickly? And so we've got a few sales that we now offer to get in for the first month at $1,
Mhm.
where it's like, $1. If you love it, you're definitely going to stick around. But it's just getting that first
Exactly.
foot in the door of saying, like, look, this is how you do it. And the problem with giving like that first month for free is then you have to kick them off. Then you have to give them a phone call, um, anything like that. Like, to me, somebody should prove that you're at least worth $1. You
Mhm.
know,
Mhm.
and just getting that first wallet open was something that one of our coaches, he was just like, once they, even if they give you 25 cents to open their wallet for the first time, he goes, that's the most important
They
thing.
opened it. That's
Yeah.
what's important. Exactly. And that's just kind of what I was talking about earlier, as far as like when we were talking about learning, like selling multiple different products and how that takes a lot of time. And I said just having one umbrella product, and I said I was working on that
Yep.
website is what I was talking about, right? That's the umbrella product that everything else will fall under.
Nice.
And later down the line, I'll have multiple tiers to where, of course, and I was really thinking about implementing that first month free or first month for $1
Mm,
concept as well, right? Because for one, with the subscription product, it automatically comes out and people forget that things are coming out of their account, for one. But then for two, it's like I can add tiers into the subscription product as well.
yeah.
So people who want more, of my higher education type products and things like that, or courses or education, they can pay the whatever. I haven't really decided whether it's $40 or $50 a month. right? So instead of paying 20, you'll pay the 40 or $50 a month, right? But
Mm-hmm.
you'll get extra value. And then from there, right, I'll have those exclusive products that aren't included on any subscription. You got to pay an extra fee for, but you get a lot of value. So it
Yeah.
helps as far as bundling it all together rather than, yeah, they all relate, but let me try to sell each one individually. That's too much work.
Too much work. It's too much work. Find one. This. If somebody could have dumbed down, like niche down, make sure you niche down. Like I could have gone into indoor volleyball. I could have gone into beach volleyball. I could have gone into fitness programs with all of my education. And it was just like, all right, well, nobody really is coaching beach volleyball skills specifically online. But then we started coming out with all these courses, and it's like each one is worth, well, I guess, 20 years of my life, like if you combine all that education, right? But like, how long did it take us to build each one? Probably a couple months just to be able to build it. Then the marketing systems take another couple of months, and then modifying that. So people don't realize that when you put on one simple online course, how much that's actually worth in terms of value.
Exactly.
It's brutal. So I think for anybody out there, if you're looking for something, like offer one thing and lock that in for 6 months, maybe even 12 months, and just figure out stop changing the price. Stop, doing some sort of add-on or a different purchase button or a different, like now it's 3 classes instead of 5 classes. Like figure out how to do that until everybody comes to you and be like, I'm not spending $5,000 for a 30-minute talk with you. Like, all right, fine. Everybody said that. So now I'll change the price.
Exactly. You need market research.
Yep. And the only market research you have is either a mentor or you do it actively and hard for 6 months and you fail and you lose points and you lose tournaments and you lose time, but you learn at every moment. All right. So if we could, I'll combine this into one question, but what your current weaknesses you think as a CEO, or things that that, man, you should be or want to be better at? For me, it's sales. I don't think I can sell anything, so I'd signed up for a $5,000 course, and it's helping me. And then once you answer that, say if there were one person that had a certain skill set or social circle or whatever that you could just put on your team, and it didn't matter what you paid them, like you had an infinite salary for them, what would that one person be?
So I'm gonna answer the first question first.
Yeah.
You kind of stole my answer. I was going to say sales because, I mean, with any company, right? Sales is what drives any company, right? You can talk about, the marketing, and then, operations. Well, how do you pay for all that? Sales, right? So I'm pretty good at selling, right? But I don't want to be pretty good. I want to be pretty damn good. Pardon my language. I'm sorry, but I want to, I want to get to the point in which I'm at an elite level of selling, right? So that's probably, I would say, is my biggest weakness. If I had to pick like a secondary quick one, I would probably just say I can always get better with. Wait, let me pick a weakness. I almost said a strength. Let's just stick with sales. Sales is definitely something that I know I need to get better on, because, like I said, sales will drive every other aspect of the business, right? You get good at sales, you can start focusing on all the other weaknesses and things that you need to work on in your business, because at least revenue's coming in.
If I asked all the people around you, your VA, your brother, your sister, if I said, what do you think his biggest weakness as a boss would be? Do you think they would answer the exact same way, or is that just digging at you?
They would not answer the same way. They probably would say communication. I'm getting better at communication, but sometimes I can get in my head too much. Working from home sometimes can drain my energy when I'm not getting outside enough, so I'll stop responding to people as much. So I'll say communication is definitely something that I need to get much better on, because communication just works in every aspect of life, right? Cool. Being able to communicate well and communicate confidently and clearly.
And that in turn then helps you in sales too. I mean, half of communication, 90% of communication is listening and actually responding to something that this person said or meant, instead of what you think the next line should be. All right. And then go ahead. You got something else?
Yeah, no, I was about to say your secondary question, right? The secondary question was again.
What rock star, if you could hire, there were no limits to who you could hire, what role, if you could like matrix put that skill into you, or you just had that person, what would that be?
It would probably still be along the same lines of sales,
Mm,
right? Simply because I do want to get better at sales and get to the highest point. But if I can have somebody that is what I'm looking for to add to me, but to just be them, like, and it would be like a two-part process of sales, right? Not just someone who can close, but someone who can qualify properly, like someone who can get the leads, right? Because if you don't have leads coming in, it doesn't matter if you're good at selling or not, right?
hmm
So someone who can just do the entire sales process, right? And be able to then teach it to others in a way that will get them to that same level,
Nice.
right? So just somebody who's good at sales as far as knowing how to bring in leads, right? Let's just say for whatever reason, uh, my business isn't making the money that they want to make, and money's down to the point in which we don't have as big of a marketing budget to run ads, right? I need somebody who's like, I don't care if we have ads or no ads, I can still go out and get you 100 leads this week, qualify all of them, and probably get you 20 to 30% qualification, and then close, another 20, 30, 40%, right? So if I have somebody who can bring in 100 leads, let's just say I have a $500 product, right? Well, for the family business, let's just say $5,000 product,
Yep.
right? Normally higher ticket for the family business, because that's what I need to close it for. But let's just say they bring in 100 people, they qualify those 100 people, and only 30 of them are qualified. So those 30 people then go to the closer, or ideally that same person or whoever, right? And then of those 30 people, they're able to then close 20% of those people, which is six people,
hmm
right? At a $5,000 product. I just made $30,000
Yeah.
without having to spend technically a single dime, because the closers and the appointment setter and all that, they're going to make money off of each close, not off of the time in
Okay. So
which.
you're going solely on commission.
Yes,
I've never
that's the best way to
haven't
push
yet
people.
hired anybody solely on commission. And it's
I
a it's a
mean,
it's a weird feeling, but I want to. And now we have the like a personal coaching product that we're like, all right,
mhm,
now we have the width. Like if we're selling $39 a month, it's going to take the same amount of time and effort from somebody. So like we couldn't have had a commission person up until this point.
mhm,
Now that we've got a big personal coaching program and mentorship program, now it's like, hey, now we can go out and we could say, hey, this sale's worth $200 every sale, and we're going to line you up like every day. You're going to have 5 of these phone calls or 10 of these phone
mhm.
calls. So
But we didn't always start off with commission, right? We started off,
okay,
and we've talked offline
yeah,
about as far as VAs and where we get our VAs from. For those who aren't familiar, I get my VAs from the Philippines. But so the our dollar is worth more there, right?
hmm
So we started off with having somebody in which we paid, but the drive wasn't there, right? Think about it. If you're still going to get a check whether you close a deal or not, I mean, maybe in the beginning you're all excited, and maybe if we do certain things that get the energy to pump up, it'll get pumped up. But then if there's nothing keeping that energy high, it'll go back down,
mm,
right? So one thing that we've learned, and it's different for every business. I know people who they still do like a base salary and commissions. I know some people who strictly do base salary, and I know some people who do strictly do commission. It's different for every business and every product. But for us personally, what we realized is if it's commission only, right? You don't make money unless you get people in and close them, right? So now you're more pushed and motivated to actually go out and get leads if necessary. Now we have somebody who's brings in leads for us, right? And then the person who's qualifying, right? We had a person who, for the longest, good person to be on the team, but they weren't following the script, right?
mm,
So they were getting, and this is when we were paying them a base salary. So they're not following the script. We're getting people who are supposedly qualified, based off of who they're bringing to the closer. But then when they get to the closer, we're like, this person is not qualified
mm-mm,
at all. Like, why am I on the phone with this person, right? And it's not to say that this person isn't valuable to my company, because they are. I want them to get to a point in which they can pay for these services because they want it. But it's like, as a closer, I shouldn't be talking to anybody who isn't qualified and is basically ready to pay, right?
okay,
Because that's what the appointment setter's job is, right? So just being able to find somebody who's able to bring in leads, qualify properly, right, at a high level, and then just somebody who's able to close those deals at an even higher level. That's somebody who I definitely, that's something I can have nothing else in my team, but if I have somebody who can close, I'm still going to make money.
That's true. How often do you put out that message? Looking for a monster closer, monster salesman.
I have my sales director. He actually had an interview with somebody yesterday, actually, my sales manager. So we put out that message pretty frequently simply because, like I said, we've gone through a lot of trial and error. We've gotten essentially every other aspect of our business up and running. Of course, some people fall off. Of course, some people stay, but we have the operations. We even have an internal HR department. Mm-hmm. We have the marketing department, which is all like self-sufficient and running itself for pretty much, pretty much running itself. It's the sales department that we keep filtering through people, right? So we're putting that out constantly, and I feel like part of it is, like you said earlier, not trying to sell a whole bunch of different products at a time, right? That's honestly where I felt like we lost a lot of probably prospects at, is trying to, maybe depending on the month or the deal or whatever, we'll try to sell this, and then we'll try to, and they still relate, right? But at the same time, they relate to you because you're the business owner. You know how they relate, but you have to look at it from the potential prospect, right? They're like, okay, they hit me up one day about this, then hit me up one day about that, and then it's like to them it seems like you're all over the place.
Yep.
So it's like understanding,
and a little bit shady. It's like this person is just trying to sell me everything. Like
exactly, and that's also one thing we had to learn. Give more value in like our text and email blast rather than trying to always sell something, right? That doesn't mean to text or email less, right? Yeah. I still believe in Grant Cardone's philosophy as far as 10x, right? You want to 10x your goals so you can 10x the input to 10x the outcome. So I still want to send out a whole bunch of emails and text and things like that, but instead of them all sounding or being salesy, right? If I send out 10 texts, right, instead of 8 or 9 of them being sales type, I want 2 or 3 of them, right? Yep. I want to give so much value that's actionable, right? And that's the big thing, actionable value. A lot of people give out value, but it's like a trick value. Like, okay, well then how do I start? And then you end up having to go to them anyway, or I gotta go. It might take a month to. No, I want to give out value that you can start. Like if you were really about it, you could do it right now and it would give you results, right? Yeah. So just giving more value, because then once you give out value, people are going to be like, dang, I was able to make this much money, or I was able to acquire this, acquire that with all the free knowledge and value they gave me. I wonder how the paid value is, right? And that's that give 90% away for free and charge for the other 10%. So
yeah. I like it. Cool, man. This is a good talk. I feel like we could talk for another hour and a half. Shoot, like, yeah. But I know you got places to go. You got a thing at 5 tonight. I want to know a couple of websites, places people can reach out to you, and if you do have any like last software tips. I know you gave me a couple of AI tools offline. You said Stork is changing the game for you, stork.ai. You also gave me video VIDYO at AI.com, which is meant to chop long form into short content. Guys, none of this is sponsored, by the way, but our producer might figure out how to do that with affiliate links. Go ahead.
Sorry to cut you off, but no, you can definitely find me on Instagram at alex.n as in November.Turner. So alex.n.Turner. You can find me on YouTube at Athletes Wisdom Podcast. It is fresh because I did revamp it depending on when you're looking at this video, but there will be a lot of content that will be going up weekly, if not a few times a week, where I'll be giving you all actionable steps on how to actually build your brand as an athlete. And even if you aren't an athlete, you can still take these tips to heart and really start implementing them. And if I were to give any tip, right, I know I gave you actual, AIs and things like that. And if you didn't hear the AIs he said, rewind the video, right? Like information without implementation is useless, right? So we're giving you that information, right? I'm not about to repeat it because you should only be able to hear it once and then start executing it.
I like that.
But if there is one thing that I could give you all, right, it's to find a mentor, find a coach, find somebody who not only can be of service to you, but you can be of service to them, right? Because it's a mutual exchange. You can't expect to take from everybody and not give something. Now, I do understand if you are not in a position to give the way you think you might, be upfront with someone about that, right? Hey, I am starting out in this industry. I would love to gain whatever knowledge and information and value that I can from you. I don't see right now how I can be of full value to you, but I am still open to anything that may arise, right?
Yeah.
Whether you need me to volunteer somewhere, or maybe come into your business and help out a little bit, whatever the case is, right? Even if it's just offering up your time, but still make sure that you're seeking a mentor to gain value and also giving value to that mentor and to anyone else that you can.
Yeah.
Give free game out every time you possibly can, and I promise you it'll reciprocate.
And you might have that skill set that even though that person's crushing it, they're like, man, we're really weak here. So go ahead and talk to them. Like if you've just been crushing YouTube for a while, but like maybe your sales are down, maybe that person's just dying to have a YouTube channel and they're willing to talk to you. So
Exactly.
it wouldn't be bad to say, this is what I consider myself an expert in that same message. Like if any of that could be of any use to you, let me know. And I'm also going to add not just mentors, but finding the social circle somehow, building a community where you can have conversations like me and Alex are having right here, whether it's a podcast, like his new podcast is just a few episodes old. My new podcast here is just a few episodes old, but we're just a conversation is giving us value and way more than kind of just talking to our buddies who don't have businesses. Yeah, I love talking to my buddies, but I'm not going to get great business advice from them or next actionable steps. If I hang out with people and I talk to people who also have businesses or are moving in the same direction, or at least are already where I want to be, now I'm going to have conversations that just boost everything, So finding somebody, if you own a business and you don't have other friends who have that same business, start getting their numbers, messaging them on Instagram and like just being like, hey, you want to go get a beer sometime, cup of coffee? Just find them, so at least you can have some cool things. And for me, I've got a tight group right now in a WhatsApp group where we just constantly share good real estate advice, and these guys are beasts compared to me, but I'm the organizer, so I get all that like free info they're giving me, which is pretty cool.
Exactly.
Yeah.
But
nice.
No, I appreciate you having me on. I definitely want to be on another podcast if possible and have you back on mine as we continue to grow both of our new podcasts. This was I learned a lot just hearing you speak and talking to you now as well.
Thanks, Alex. Exact same. Yeah, let's schedule it for a year and see where our businesses and podcasts are at. I'll race you to 10,000 downloads.
All right, I'll beat you there.
We'll see.
No, I'll meet you there, though. I definitely appreciate your time, Mark, and thank you all for listening.
Cool. Later, Alex. Have a great weekend.
You as well.
Bye. Bye, everybody. Thanks for listening.